Hi, it's Bumble. Welcome to my channel. This is actually the first time I've done actually wait, no, this might not have been the first time I've done two movie reviews in one video. I think I did that on my old channel for the Twister videos. So neither of these movies were movies I was originally planning to watch. I was scrolling through Tubi. Tubi has a lot of weird stuff and a lot of older movies, and Frankenhooker was something I thought was originally a Tubi. Tubi has a lot of really weird horror movies. There's one about an evil bong or whatever. Not that they're made by Tubi, but they're just on there. So I thought okay, Frankenhooker, that makes sense. The concept just sounded really ridiculous. Where I'm okay, it's Frankenstein, but she's a hooker or something, and I was something about it. I was okay, I'm slightly curious about this. And then so that one I just stumbled on, and then Weird Science I think I saw on the front page, and I think I thought about it. I don't know, and then this ended up being a back-to-back viewing for these two movies. I watched Frankenhooker first, and then I decided, okay, I'll go with Weird Science. We'll just continue with the Frankenstein theme. And I think that was a really weird pipeline. It was kind of funny because I looked up one of the movies on Letterboxd as I was, I think, by the time I was watching Weird Science or something, because Tubi has commercials and stuff, and someone even mentioned that they did the same thing, and I thought, oh, okay, I wasn't the only one. Not that I had this planned. I didn't know that Frankenhooker existed before yesterday, but I just thought I'd talk about both movies. I don't know how common the themes are with. I'm not gonna do a compare and contrast or anything, but I thought, hey, I might as well just talk about them both in the same video. So I'm gonna start it off with Frankenhooker because that's what I watched first. I mean, both of these movies are the Frankenstein thing of they bring a dead body to life, or so, that kind of, or you make a person. And Frankenhooker is by using dead people, how you would traditionally think of Frankenstein. And then Weird Science is about just creating a person out of a computer and stuff. So it's a similar thing, and they're both female this time, so that influences the story in a different way. So I guess, yeah, it does kind of make sense to put them together. And they're both kind of more modern retellings. They're not really as gothic. One of them is kind of this 80s nighttime vibe, and then the other one just makes me think of John Hughes movies a little bit from the 80s, The Breakfast Club kind of a vibe. Not that exact vibe, but it definitely feels like one of those. Yeah, okay, so we'll start with Frankenhooker. It's about this guy who's a failed med student or something, and his girlfriend dies. She's the one who the head is supposed to be, by the way, in a lawnmower accident. I'll be honest, I skipped through a lot of the sections of this movie, but the description does say she dies in a lawn accident. Anyway, I saw the lawnmower when I was watching the movie, but I didn't watch her get what physically happened to her. But apparently he's only able to save her head. I don't know why after death her head is white and her hair is like that, because I think she's blonde when she originally dies, and it's not, I don't think her hair changed color or anything, so I don't know why her head looks that. And then he only is able to save her head and not her body, so he ends up it actually takes forever until the quote-unquote Frankenhooker is created. Most of the movie is actually just him going around wherever this movie takes place, I don't remember, and he's hanging out with hookers and killing them to get their body parts to make mishmashed up Frankenstein person, basically, because he even tells the head of his dead girlfriend, who can't talk or anything, she's not sentient at that point, of oh, I can make you look like anything or whatever. And I mean, I get that he couldn't save her old body, but I thought why can't you just put her on a body that's similar to hers? Do you have to give her a hooker body made out of all these people? I feel that was probably kind of optional. She even calls him out on it at the end of the movie when he restores her brain to full capacity, and she's this isn't my body, why did you put me on here? You can kind of think okay, maybe he was feeling kind of horny about it. I mean, he did get to choose without her knowing what her body would look like, and he does suffer the consequences from it, so that's cool. So yeah, I had kind of assumed it would be like like a short montage or something of him gathering all these parts, because that's kind of what that sort of plot line would feel like, and then most of the movie would be about the Frankenhooker, and instead it's the reverse, where it's like it just takes way too much of the movie. We don't really get to know any of these characters either that he's taking the body parts from, so I don't even feel bad from it. And then when he does make his creation, she ends up leaving. I don't remember what goes wrong, but she ends up running away or something, and he's trying to find her, and most of the movie is her. She like goes up to people and she's like, want a date, and she's saying all this stuff. I don't know where her personality is coming from though, because the head is of his girlfriend, who was not a hooker. I don't remember what her job was. So she shouldn't like have any of these lines, but she's not even aware of herself or anything. It's might as well be as if he like replaced her brain. So she goes to have sex with people and stuff, but then because she's like made alive by electricity, it like shocks people's mouths or something, and a couple of them just fucking explode. And then he manages to track her down and he takes her home, and then he ends up fixing her, and that's all the way at the end of the movie, and then she's restored to her normal self. There's also this weird thing I'd also missed through, where there's like this fridge or something in his basement, and it's locked or whatever, it's like closed, and there's something trying to get out of it, and the entire movie I was like, what is trying to get out of there? And then it's revealed to be the discarded parts of all the women that he killed, including like their breasts and their face, and they become these kind of like small grotesque monsters. Kind of shows the sacrifice of like, okay, he made in his eyes like a perfect woman, or more so like he was just trying to revive his dead girlfriend, but it's like, here's the cost of like, what do you do with all these other parts, you know? And they're seen on other posters. I picked this one because it reminded me of like old monster movie like books or something, kind of gave that vibe. But I feel bad for the girlfriend. There's this like this guy that recognizes some of the parts. I guess he's like a pimp or something, and he tracks her down in the basement, and then he's going to kill her to like take down back the parts, and then he ends up decapitating the boyfriend or something, and it's right after the boyfriend had like fixed the girl's brain or something, so he's dead. And then the weird spooky parts of the fridge come out, and they attack the bouncer guy or whatever, and then the girlfriend revives the boyfriend, and it's kind of a little funny because he explains to her before he gets killed of like, oh, the chemicals only, it's like estrogen or whatever, like he only can revive women. And then he's decapitated, so she's like freaked out about her body, by the way. She's like, these aren't my breasts, these aren't my arms, and he's like, that's the best I could do with what was left of you, sorry, and whatever. And then she actually revives him. It's kind of funny because she's wearing his like lab coat for some reason when she revives him. Apparently it's explained he left like really detailed notes, and she gives him basically almost a word for word explanation, because he's been like, he has his head but it's on like a female body. But at least his girlfriend was nice, where I don't think she put him with a bunch of mismatched parts. She didn't kill anyone. I don't know where she got the female body from though. And now he's got boobs like just as big as hers, but he's freaked out about it for some reason. And she doesn't seem like mad or anything about like, okay, he's got like a male head and a woman's body now. The girlfriend's like cool with it. It's just a guy that's freaked out, and she's like, oh, we can like spend together forever or whatever, and he just keeps like screaming for some reason. Like, it's supposed to be funny, but I'm like, dude, she brought you back to life or whatever. So I thought that was like an interesting way to end it. I don't really have like notes on this one. I didn't really take notes for either of these movies, I think. Well, actually the end of Weird Science I did take notes because I had like a very sudden revelation about the plot. But yeah, Frankenhooker is pretty much what I expected. I was kind of looking at reviews of it before I watched it because I thought like, what if this is really bad and I'm wasting my time? But people apparently liked it. It's like, you know, like a B horror film, you know, but it was actually surprisingly better than I expected. But I wouldn't watch it again. I feel like I'd watch it as like a joke movie around Halloween or something, but it's not like it was like poorly made or anything. The actors did fine. The actor for the main character is kind of funny because he does feel like like a young 80s protagonist, but his voice is like so much deeper than what I expected. I'd never heard of any of the actors in this movie though. So that's kind of my thoughts on Frankenhooker. And then I went to Weird Science, where it's like kind of a opposite vibe, where instead of being like very gloomy but not gothic, it's just like this nighttime 80s setting and this like Frankenhooker and all this stuff about sex. Weird Science is like a lot more lighthearted, but it does have like the dirty jokes and stuff, and it's about them making a hot woman, but like I don't think anyone actually has sex in this movie. There's like kissing at most, so it's kind of interesting to go from like the super sexualized movie to like where the main woman is like sexualized, and then to Weird Science where she's obviously very attractive and they acknowledge that, but she doesn't like use that to her advantage or anything, and no one ends up like having sex with her or anything. Okay, so Weird Science, I'll be honest, I felt kind of uncomfortable with it. It's one of those 80s movies that kind of like blurs sort of lines a little bit, in that it's about these two teens. They create this gorgeous woman or whatever, and she does kind of act like an older sister, or like that kind of role, where her whole existence is supposed to be like they just wanted to boost their confidence, they want someone to like them, and her entire role in this movie is to try to help them boost their confidence. But she's like kind of crazy, so she also has these weird powers for some reason, so she uses that to help them. Apparently they made a TV series about this. I did not know that until I was trying to find this poster, and some people are saying the TV series is better than the movie, but it doesn't have the same actors, and I'm bummed, not because I cared about the teens, but like the woman who played the lady that they make has like a really cool voice, and I'm like, damn, they don't have her in the TV show. Anyway, there's so many weird things about this movie, but yeah, she's like a grown woman who's dating these like two teens in the movie, and I feel like the genders were reversed. It'd probably be called out more as being weird. But then she also has that like older sister role where she is like helping them, and it's not really like romantic. It's kind of weird. Okay, let me start at the beginning. There are these two teens. They end up using, okay, they're not like tech geniuses or anything. You know how like in the 80s with a lot of 80s movies, or like with Electric Dream, there's kind of, you know, like computers are new, so there's like kind of the technology's treated like magic, basically. That's kind of how this movie works too. They're not like tech geniuses or anything. They're just these two unpopular teens, and they just own a computer. They don't have any special equipment. Like, they don't have enough juice when they're making her, so they end up somehow, in like the first 10 minutes, they hack into like a government computer to get the juice they need, and they're somehow able to just create a person. She just shows up at their house through this doorway of like all this fog, and then she leaves through the doorway too at the end of the movie. I don't know how that works, but she keeps saying that they made her, and she is supposed to be from a computer, but she's not like a robot. It's really weird. But like, I don't know how these normal people that just happen to own a computer not only created a sentient person basically, but they also like hacked in this government facility. Whatever. The magic part is that she has the ability to like summon things into the real world, and whenever that happens is like electricity, and I don't remember if that's explained. She just basically has powers, and I've heard it gets even weirder in the TV show or something. Like her, some of her powers are like, okay, she like summons things in the real world, and I thought maybe it's like a video game kind of thing or whatever, but then she's able to like transform people into other things where they're in like non-human forms. Like, she turns someone into like a poop monster or something, and I'm like, how are you even able to do that? And there's another part where she freezes the main character's grandparents, where they're like comatose in a closet or something, but they're not dead, and I'm like, how the fuck are you able to do these things? And she doesn't show like any, like, she's not evil, but she doesn't show any remorse for these actions. She just kind of does it. She basically does whatever she wants. Like, she's presented as cool with like her level of confidence, but it's also just like you don't understand like society and stuff. I don't know, it's kind of weird. And they end up trying to use her to like impress their classmates. There's a part where they go to a mall and stuff, and she keeps putting them in all these like super dangerous situations to like try to get them to be brave, but some of them are completely crazy. Like at the end of the movie, she has them throw a party, and then she's like summons this biker gang to invade the house, and it puts people in real danger and destroys the house and stuff. And it's like the teens, the main characters don't know if everything's going to turn out okay, and then whenever she encounters an obstacle, she just kind of like uses her abilities to get through it, and she's just able to because she's like too overpowered. Like she meets one of the main characters like parents, for example, and the parents are like, son, why are you with this older woman or whatever, and then she like summons a gun and like holds them at gunpoint. It does turn out to be a squirt gun, but it looks like a real gun, which now I totally get. I'm like, okay, that's why Nerf guns have the orange tip, you know? Like she doesn't actually like kill anyone, which is great, but I feel like she gets kind of close at times. I don't know. Or she has the characters at the beginning of the movie, she's trying to find a party for them to go to, and she has them drive the car even though they're underage, and then she takes them to a bar and gives them like fake IDs or whatever. I mean, they are kind of losers a bit in that they get kind of easily spooked in situations, and she's like, it's fine. And I'm like, okay, I get that she's trying to get them to stand up for themselves or whatever. Like at first she's not immediately putting them in dangerous situations, but still just like, bruh. I mean, the supposed dating stuff isn't too bad either, I guess. It's like she does kiss one of them, but maybe it's just to show them like what a first kiss is supposed to be like. Like she never really tries to make any well, okay, no, that's not true. She does she takes a shower at the beginning of the movie, and like the boys are also in there, but they're wearing their pants, and it's like she makes fun of them for it, and I'm like, they're not interested in you sexually, that's like fine. There's some stuff where it's like the boys are made fun of for stuff that I'm like, I don't see what's wrong with that, you know? Or there's like a part where they in the mall that felt like, I'm like, okay, this is totally a movie moment though, this wouldn't happen in real life, where like the boys are sitting in a mall and their classmates are on the second floor of the mall. It's like one of those big 80s malls, you know? And they dump like a Slurpee on them, and there's like a crowd of people there for some reason, or there's like a crowd that shows up, and they just start laughing at them, even like adults and old people. Like no one offers to help them, and the fact that these adults are like juvenilely laughing at something like this too, I'm just like, okay, I guess that's happening. I know it's to show like how unpopular they are or whatever, but like, I don't know, it kind of felt bad for the main characters a little bit. And then things eventually get weird later, besides the guy that gets transformed into like sentient poop basically, which is so weird to look at. I had to like skip through it. They have this thing, like they had this doll connected to electricity. I don't know if that's what keeps the girl, oh yeah, her name's Lisa, by the way, that keeps her in the world or whatever, but they forget the doll at one point, and she points it out to them, and it gets connected to like a Time magazine article about like nuclear bombs, and it summons a missile in their house, and the missile doesn't go off, it's just there in their room for like the rest of the movie. It's like really weird actually. Okay, what else? And then they end up saving everybody at the party, and then Lisa says that she has to leave, and then when she leaves, all the stuff reverses, which is great. The house is cleaned up, and then their parents arrive home. They're not siblings, but I mean like the teen whose house was being used to throw the party specifically, his parents show up and they're like, oh, we thought you were throwing a party. Like they do end up becoming better people at the end, and they're sad when Lisa leaves, and they do thankfully hook up with girls their own age, and that's actually the nice way the movie ends. That's like the only part of it I really liked, was the ending actually, was how they meet these two girls at the party who are like classmates who I think already liked them anyway, and they end up having a nice moment with them later on, and they go to tell Lisa, and they're like, hey, we're not in love with you anymore, and she's like, you found women your own age, I'm glad, or something like that. She's like, that's all I ever wanted for you, and then she leaves, and that's it. I'm still confused about like her existence really, because like they create her on a computer, and she tells people out the movie like, oh, they created me, I'll do anything for them, except that she kind of doesn't. Like they don't she doesn't really listen to them, and she keeps putting them in dangerous situations, and it's more like she kind of controls them more like they control her. But it's like she's not a robot, she's not like a hologram or anything. I actually assumed she was like a hologram or something at first, and then she has these powers to like summon things into the real world. There's nothing technical about her. She like never glitches. She even like is able to take a shower, like she touches water, she's able to change clothes and consume liquids, so she's basically just like a human person. So I don't get, I feel like the need of like making her on a computer is kind of less to show like they're nerds and more of like, okay, we're gonna finally make a Frankenstein movie where they don't use like dead bodies and kill people. No one gets killed in this movie. I guess it's like, okay, it's like this, okay, a way to get around of like, it's the same concept, it's the 80s, so you gotta have computers, but then it's also like, you know, we're trying to be more lighthearted. But I do always find that interesting where it's like a computer in a sense comes to life and then it like wreaks havoc for everyone else. Electric Dreams is kind of like that, except it's not really like a person, and that's totally a movie I gotta review too. It's one of my favorites. I think it's also in Tubi. Anyway, but yeah, Weird Science isn't as like weird as the title claims it to be. It's just, I don't know, it's pretty much what I expected. I thought it was kind of going to be like, you know how I mentioned she's not a hologram? There's this Disney Channel movie. I think it came out in the 90s or early 2000s. I've never watched it, but I remember reading about it where it's like these people make like a digital singer, but she's a hologram, and I just know that at the end she goes out to experience rain and it kills her or something. So I thought it was going to be something like that, where it's like, okay, she's like created from a computer, something's gonna happen, but like nothing happens with computers the rest of this movie. So it's not really like, it's advertised it's like weird or whatever, but it's not even really like a science movie either or anything. It's just like it could even be, instead of a computer, like they had someone come over or something. She's basically like a human person. But yeah, I don't know how I feel about it. The like the age quote unquote dating things kind of, I mean, okay, they don't like, I mean, they don't date her, but like the language they use is kind of like that. So I don't know, but Lisa's a cool character. She was my favorite. I felt like she definitely kind of went over the line with some things though, like in universe, and the teens are just kind of like, they're whatever. Oh, the main reason I wanted to talk about Weird Science, after I finished it, I actually realized how similar it kind of is to The Cat in the Hat from 2003. I know that sounds like a really weird thing to say, but like, let me explain. Because like, once I got to the part at the end of the movie where they everything is like magically fixed and then their parents come home, I'm like, this is totally a Cat in the Hat moment. And that is the one thing I have notes on. Actually, I literally wrote like on my phone notepad. I probably need to explain it better because I wrote it like at like 10 p.m. I was already tired at that point, but I wrote, here, I'll read you my exact quote and I'll talk about it more. Two young people need their personalities fixed. A magic fun person shows up. The house is destroyed. Things go crazy. The two people become better people. The magic person reverses all the house damage and leaves, but has one last appearance at the end, but replaced the Cat in the Hat with the hot woman. The parents never know what happens. A mean older person is screwed over as the human garbage they are. Okay, let me explain that. I mean that is kind of the gist of both, is like the cat, like Conrad and Sally are like, one of them has too much fun and the other one is like too strict, and then the Cat in the Hat basically gets them to loosen up, where they kind of just even out, where they're not too strict or too loose anymore. And then with this movie, it's not really their personalities. I don't know if I could even call them cowards, or they are unpopular. But I guess they do become more brave at the end of the movie, and everyone does think they're cool because of that. So I guess that's kind of what I meant by like fixing their personalities. And it's entirely like the Cat in the Hat causes chaos, but like you can see the characters like character development as the movie goes on. And Weird Science is kind of the same way, where they start getting like a little braver, except towards the very end, where it's kind of like they kind of only have their big brave moment at the end. Actually, it's more of just trying to get them into social situations. And then let me look back at my notes. The house getting destroyed and things going crazy and stuff. they also have weird powers, both like Lisa and the Cat in the Hat, actually, because the Cat in the Hat, I mean, some of it is from his weird red box that he summons the things out of, but it is all this crazy shit, like with the stuff in their house, and there's like a bullfighting ring, and he takes them into like another dimension or something, and just all these crazy things that happen, and the house does end up getting like destroyed, and he uses the machine at the end to fix it. And then with Weird Science, it's more of like the house does get kind of destroyed at the end, but at that point things go crazy. The grandparents are frozen, the older brother is turned into turd. Oh wait, no, I want to talk about that actually. In Cat in the Hat, there's like this neighbor guy, and the cat confronts him, and the guy is like freaked out for the rest of the movie of like trying to catch him or whatever. And then when he does see the cat, he's like absolutely terrified, and then he goes into the other world and falls into something and gets covered in purple slime, and then the kid's mom like rejects him at the end, and he's like treated as the loser he is. And I forgot to mention it, but there's a character I think named like Chet or something in Weird Science. He's like the older brother of one of the main characters, and he isn't in the movie a ton. He kind of comes and goes, but he's like the older brother bully character you see a lot in these kind of movies. And then Lisa ends up confronting him at the end, and he's like, okay, what are you gonna do about this or whatever? And she says like, oh, I could be quite a bitch if I need to or whatever. And then she transforms him into this like turd monster or something, and then immediately he actually does change his tune, and he apologizes to the kids, and then apparently he gets reverted back to normal within like half an hour or something, and we don't really see him again, and we assume like, okay, he's gonna be a nicer person. So I mean, I guess with that, it's like more of like it's like, okay, we're gonna give you a chance or whatever, but you are like kind of messed up by the magical person or something. But the guy in I think played by Alec Baldwin, yeah, in Cat in the Hat, like they're like, no, get out of here, you're not part of our lives anymore, you do not get a chance of redemption. The Cat in the Hat is of course definitely more wacky, but it's like it got similarities. I mean, I don't know if there's other movies like this and I'm just stating like common movie tropes, or if it's just when I got to the point where like the house is destroyed and the house is magically cleaned up and the parents showing up, I was like, this feels a little too much like Cat in the Hat. But it's weird because like this movie came out first, like decades earlier. Cat in the Hat's from like 2003, but just the fact that it like clicked instantly for me as soon as I finished the movie, to the point where I had to text my friend about it, that is the real reason I made this video. I'm curious if other people think about that too, or I'm just like, okay, they just have similar things. But the difference is I find Cat in the Hat funny, and it's about a weird terrifying cat that never really gets explained, and these two dorky kids or whatever, and it's like, I like the kids in Cat in the Hat, they're pretty funny. And then with Weird Science, I don't care about the protagonist. Lisa's the one that's really cool, but then she kind of like she doesn't have that like whimsy, and it's not really as like funny. I don't know how funny this movie's supposed to be. And the cameo thing, she does show up at the end of the movie where she's at the main character's school. I guess she gets to just stay in the real world, like she left them, but maybe it's more like a Nanny McPhee type of leaving, where it's like, I'm leaving because you don't need me anymore, and she goes on to help other people, but like they did also make her, so like couldn't they summon her back or whatever? I don't know. Like the ending of Weird Science was sweet, but the only reason I'm glad I watched it was because it makes me think of Cat in the Hat now, which I also need to watch that, so I need to watch that and talk about it again. Or I don't think I ever made a review for it, but now I'm like thinking about it, and I want to talk about Electric Dreams because that also makes me think of Weird Science. But my next movie review is actually going to be a movie called Blight Spirit, and I'm only mentioning that because I watched it the same day as these other twos, and it's still fresh in my head. And then there's another movie I need to watch after that, rewatch, because it has like the same actor from Blythe's Spirit or whatever it's called. But then that kind of leads me back to sci-fi. So we're kind of going in a circle, I guess, of like going between like sci-fi and like weird fantasy. I don't know what the hell you refer to Cat in the Hat as this genre as. But yeah, I'm glad this worked out, because I was probably never going to make a movie on just Frankenhooker because I didn't care enough about it. But like Weird Science, I feel like they go together. So if you've never seen either of these movies, I actually just recommend watching them back to back. I don't know if the order, like if you watch Weird Science first and then Frankenhooker, changes anything. Probably, because then it goes from like sex jokes to sex. I don't know, but it was an interesting accidental kind of little pipeline there. I don't know if I might do that for other movies, because I tried that with like the Doctor Who movie and then with Snail and I, and that was also kind of an interesting thing, but I've already seen both of those. I don't know, sometimes I'm okay at this point with this channel of like, if I want to rewatch movies for fun and that gives me the excuse to talk about them, that's great. I used to only really just watch movies and not rewatch stuff on my old channel, but like, I miss certain movies, you know? I have thoughts on them. Alright, that's it for this. So this is half an hour, it's not too bad. I'm glad I ended up talking about it after all. I feel like talking about movies kind of helps me determine my opinion on them. Alright, so next we're gonna have a movie about like ghosts or something. Alright, bye!